What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the very first episode of C4S Villains. I'm your host, JB, and I am here with my co host, the legend Vash. And this is the show where we talk about everything in the world of Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and whatever we want to talk about. Vash and I have been planning to make this show for a really, really long time now. And I'm so glad that we're here. We're here for episode 1. We're going to be talking WandaVision, the Batwoman season 2 premiere, and so much more. Vash, so happy to see you here.
I'm excited. So, James cannot tell you how long we've been playing this. If things we could say, we've almost been playing this for almost a year or so. We've been thinking names. When should we start this? And then, like, a couple months ago, hey, let's start off in 2021. Let's just start off in January somewhere, somehow. And then the more dates came by, we just came up with a new name. We just came up with the ideas. And then now we're here. And we're excited. I can't tell you how much we're thrilled about it. I'm very happy to finally start the show.
Yeah, me too. Like, we've been wanting to talk about comics and just comic book TV shows and movies together forever. So I'm really glad we're finally here at episode 1. But before we get into any content, I just want to talk about why we decided to make this show and why we decided to name it Villains. And we've been promoting this for a while now. So Vash, I want to hear your side of it. Like, why did you want to do this show with me? And tell the people why we decided to name it Villains.
So I want to do this with James for a long time because when I first met James, we used to be a big fan of AMC Movie Talk. If people have known about that show, that's been out since 2012, 2014, and then it turned to the current range before it got transferred with New Realms and everything. But it was called it was called with Collider Heroes, and that was hosted by John Schnepp. And John Schnepp, he's a big sweaty. That's what he always called his show, like when you're gonna get geeky with your friends and everything. And he also would talk with his friends about the comic movies, the comic shows, and the comics itself, the first type of medium of storytelling with how it came out. And when I met James a couple years back, we had him a guest on the show with a podcast. If you guys hear us on the brain of anime lately, and we always sometimes get off tangents or talking about comic books and everything. But then me and just like, hey, we should have the show that actually talks about the WandaVision stuff, the stuff that's happening this year, Black Widow, with the shows that's with the Batwoman and the whole type of CW verse and narrative going on. So we just want to do our own show, and with the name we came up with, like, we just was a big fan of heroes. But me and James always talk about Doctor Doom, the type of anti-heroes, those type of villains that actually are not really villains, but the way they execute stuff makes them look like villains. So that's how we came up with the name of the show.
Yeah, it was a blast just coming up with it. Another part of that was just wanting to pay homage to John Schnepp. Like, he created that show Heroes, and we've been watching him for years until he passed. And then, like, we wanted to make our own version of that. So the opposite of heroes would be villains. And here we are, man. We're here. Very first episode. We're going to be talking, like I said in the beginning, WandaVision review, Batwoman. We're going to be talking about the Star Wars open world game. Kevin Feige did an interview with Collider. So let's start there, right? So Kevin Feige did an interview with Steve Weintraub from Collider talking about Secret Invasion, WandaVision. But one of the biggest things that he talked about, in my opinion, was the fact that Deadpool 3 is definitely going to be set in the MCU and it will be rated R. So I want to know your thoughts on the film being in the MCU, it being rated R. Let me know what you think.
I'm happy that Kevin Feige knows his audience. He knows what it is, because he knows that if he put it as PG-13, people would have rioted. The whole Twitter people, everybody would get mad about it. Because if you read the comics, then Deadpool is not meant for PG-13. He's meant for rated R. He's meant for that type of audience. And he curses a lot. He goes 4-4 breaking, 8-4 breaking. He goes that type of realm. And I'm happy he knows the audience. And I can't wait to see what Deadpool 3 can do with the current MCU content, the type of jokes, the type of, like, hey, remember the Fox merger, like stuff like that. Remember when remember when we were with a different company? Now we're with a bigger monopoly. Like, just imagine the jokes that Ryan Reynolds would say. Like, it's just insane the possibilities that we could hear now that's all under one roof. The whole stuff about, wait, we have 3 Spider-Mans in this same MCU stuff. Wait, what's going on? Is this one gonna change just probably 10 years from now again, and then probably have a 4th Spider-Man? It's just the jokes, it's insane.
Yeah, the possibilities for Deadpool in the MCU are limitless. Like I can't wait for all of the jokes, like you were saying. I can't wait to hear the jokes about him moving over from Fox to working for the mouse. That's
Yes,
gonna
so the
be
mouse.
hilarious, bro. But I just love the fact that this is going to be set in the MCU. We are going to get a Deadpool set in the MCU. I can't wait for them to introduce the X-Men. And we're moving in a really, really good spot right now. We're getting the multiverse. We're getting the first little bits of that in WandaVision. That's
Yes.
going to connect to Spider-Man 3, which also connects to Multiverse of Madness. So there's so many different ways that they can introduce mutants into the MCU. But how would you like to see mutants introduced into the MCU? I'm hoping that we see something like what happened in Crisis with the CW verse, right? Where we get the multiverse and then something happens, and then Wanda and Doctor Strange have to use their powers to collapse the multiverse into one universe. And that's where the X-Men come in from being on a different Earth.
You gave a great comparison with the whole multiverse coming together from Crisis, but hopefully they write it better. Cause Crisis, we have our own
Yeah.
little mistakes they did and everything, but I hope they write it better. Because with that type of Crisis, they all have different showrunners and a whole different producers and everything. But with MCU, they have a whole type of lineage. They know where to go to, they know what to write. So I feel like this would be better structure. With the mutants, I'm curious to know if they're gonna bring back other actors from the past, Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch, if they want to acknowledge that stuff like that. Like, wait a minute, you look like a guy we had before as Killmonger. Wait, but you're in this universe, you're actually a good guy. So stuff like that, like, will play it as homage to other characters that actually was a good character and he did a good portray. Just the whole movie was bad, but hopefully they could just reignite their actual role. If they switch out Susan or other characters, maybe bring back Logan. Who knows? He could come back.
Yeah, I would love to see Hugh Jackman back, but it's just like I know Kevin Feige, and I know he would want to start off with like a
Younger people.
actor.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Hugh Jackman played Wolverine for like what, 15, 16 years?
Let's
So
say less
it's
than
like,
20. So that's
yeah,
still a good amount of years, but maybe he could, because we don't really have like Old Man Logan no more, like, so we can't really do those type of stuff. But maybe he could play homage, like maybe he was a person that was the bad guy to put the whole Weapon X, so stuff like that, like maybe homage to those little small cameos.
yeah. Another thing that Kevin Feige talked about that really interested me in this interview was the Secret War stuff, right? I mean, the Secret Invasion stuff. Secret Invasion is going to be insane, bro. Because we got our first glimpse at Secret Invasion and Sword at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, where we saw
Yep.
Nick Fury in space. We're going to get into that into the WandaVision review.
More stuff, yep.
But there's a lot of Sword references in WandaVision. So
It makes sense, because what else can you do after technically with having the small Civil War and then having Thanos? What else can you do that's the next cosmic stuff? So with the scrolls, and like just to see those concepts, if you're gonna have scrolls, you have to have the whole Fantastic Four, because they are connected as well, very much, and also with the Guardian of the Galaxy. So that's also connected with each other. So I can't wait to see what Phase 4 and 5 leads up to, and then after that, that has to come with sequel works, because that has to be the next one after this.
yeah, dude, I mean, like I would say like phase 6
8
would be a great time to do Secret Wars, bro. That would be insane.
It's just amount of years, because right now Phase 4 and 5, maybe 6 is all part of Secret Invasion, like, with all the Fantastic Four and everything, and then maybe after Phase 6, 7, and 8 could be with the whole sequel war. So I'm very excited to see how they're gonna bring the other characters, and just imagine we actually see Galactus actually done well. That's one.
Yeah,
Like,
not a giant shit cloud.
I just can't imagine, like, how can you have, like, we as kids, we saw in the cartoons, like, oh, Galactus, some really big purple dude with some black or blue skirt, looking like just eating planets and just absorbing them. But then you actually see him in the MCU actually done well. I'm like, yo, and Doom done well as well. So, like, those little small things that we wish could have been done good before now, it's just exciting to just see the whole possibilities with Secret Invasion as well coming in the next few years.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities, and Kevin Feige is a genius. He's already been able to do so much without any of the Fox characters, without the Fantastic Four, without the X-Men, which can bring in so many different heroes, so many different villains. So now that he has everything in the sandbox, the MCU can only get better from there. But before we go into any more news, I would just want to go right off the top and just talk about like what have you been watching recently? Like what have you been binging like before we got to this episode?
So I had to do my homework since I did not watch Batwoman the whole season 1. So when James told me, hey, we should watch the season 2 premiere of Batwoman, I'm like, damn, I never did the whole season 1. So this whole past week and a half, I had to binge season 1. I finished it. If I had to give it a solid score, like I told Jim, it's a 7.5. There's little small nitpicks with characters, acting, and everything, story plots and everything, but also with when it ended off wrong because with the whole pandemic going on at the time when it first started. But overall, like there's good story, there's better, and also when you have a 20 episodes CW comic book soap opera show, you can't really do much by repeating the same story because like has been done. Also, I was also binge watching Batman Beyond when it dropped on HBO Max. It was just nice to watch it. Sam told me something before when he started to binge it. He said that watching this older, you understand a lot of the small reference when you was watching as a kid. I didn't understand that when you first said it, but once I finished season 1, I understood the small reference of Barbara, Nightwing, Ra's al Ghul. I was like, oh my god, I understand these now. Back when I was a kid, I was like, oh, cool names, oh, cool this. Now knowing what I grew up with, Nightwing as my favorite character and all these things, seeing it now in Batman Beyond of Terry McGinnis and he's such a great Batman. Like it's just, he's so good, and I love seeing him. I hope we get one day like a reboot, cartoon, or something of a movie. But it was so good to rewatch the show Batman Beyond. Like I hope to sometime probably finish it within the next couple of months. But the whole season 1 still holds up until this day.
Yeah. For me, I've been watching Batman Beyond too. Shout out to Spicy Lady, because when she started watching it, I was like, well, I mean, this is the perfect time to get back into Batman Beyond. And like you said, like Terry McGinnis is such a great Batman, and he is a great Batman because he's Bruce's son. You know what I mean? Like he has that DNA, he has the exact same tragedy that happened to him, and he's a great Batman. Like when Batman Beyond was first like announced, like I was somewhat worried because it's like, this guy isn't Bruce, like why should I care? But then when you see and learn more about Terry McGinnis, like he is so different from Bruce, but also so alike Bruce at the same time. And I love Batman Beyond. I love seeing Mr. Freeze show up again. It was great to see Joker again. Like there's a lot of great stuff that happens in Batman Beyond. I've been rewatching Batwoman season 1 since right after Crisis, because I barely remember everything that happens. The overall arc, and we'll get into this when we get into the Batwoman season 2 review, but the overall arc of Batwoman season 1 is good. It's not great. Some of the acting is pretty cringe at times, but like you gave it a 7.5, like I would give it a 7.5 as well for the first season. Like it's not great, but it does a good job with the Batwoman character.
The whole 20 episodes, my favorite fight scene was actually episode 18 when she went to fight in Arkham all the bad guys. I'm like, she's Batwoman. She's supposed to be like the lesser Batman out of Bruce. But why do I feel like I don't know if it's the stunt double or Ruby, or maybe it's the team that doesn't want her to do a lot of fight roles or fight scenes. But like, why does Green Arrow supposed to be like a C-level hero in the comics, but Batwoman's supposed to be like a B and everything? But Green Arrow in the TV show, because Stephen Amell, he knows how to do stunts. It's great. But like, I enjoy watching Arrow and other heroes do more action scenes when I was watching Ruby Rose. Like, hey, not bad. You know, it's the first season, but still, like, I was hoping to like more action scenes throughout the whole season. And the other thing that bothered me is like, what's with heroes taking off their cowl all the time?
Because I mean, they're actors and their faces.
Their face, show. But like in the comics, they don't throw the cowl so off. Like they don't do that all the time. Isn't it?
Yeah. I have a few issues with Batwoman. We'll get into that in the next part of the segment. But was there anything else that you wanted to talk about that you've been binging or anything?
Other than that, I've just been watching a lot of anime, but that's all different show. But with other hero stuff, I just can't wait within WandaVision more, but we're gonna talk about that in a few. But saw the trailer of the preview of the Zack Snyder cut. It came out a couple of days ago, and I was rewatching that one more time. Like, we actually did it. 3 years later, I've actually asking for this cut, and I was just still amazed. Like, people have been asking, and it actually kind of existed, but never really existed. But somehow it just came to fruition. I'm like, cool. All right, I guess we made it happen. Yay for us.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, the only thing they really needed to do was the visual effects, right?
Yeah,
Because all of the basic like principal photography stuff was already done. Now Zach is doing a bunch of reshoots that's gonna cost
I,
WB like
so much
70
reshoots,
million.
but it looks
But
so much better. It's like I wish we got this. Like I would like, hey executives, why couldn't you wait? Like I get you guys wanted your bonuses, I get you guys wanted that money, but we should have gotten this. Like this movie should have breaking box office records, and it did not. It's like it hurts. Like as a comic book fan, it hurt my heart when I first saw. I'm like, no, this was it.
it did. Me too, bro. Like even BVS, like there is a good version of BVS somewhere because you can tell from the ultimate cut that that's even better than the theatrical
Oh,
cut.
it is. It
So
is.
I think if Zach was just given more time, there is a version of that movie that I think could be equally as good as Civil War. Honestly, because I feel like the dynamic between Bruce and Batman, especially where Batman is mentally in BVS, like I thought it was perfect. It was prime for this great movie, and then just nothing happens, and then Justice League
Wait,
happens.
but at the end, something did happen. Martha, that was the big
Oh
moment.
God, stop!
I'm about to say, like, that's a big moment. Like, hey, they said the name. They have mothers that have the same name.
There are people who defend the Martha sequence, and I just can't, bro. There are so many other ways that you could have given a connection between Bruce and Superman, right? You could have even used the Martha thing, but I have always said Superman could have simply said, I need your help to save my mom. It would have been the exact same thing because, oh, this alien that I just saw as a nuclear weapon that can destroy the planet has a mother. I couldn't save my mom, so therefore I'm going to help him do something that I was too weak and powerless to do. It would have been the same thing.
But you know how you and me both watch a lot of movies, but you know how it is. Those one-liners mean a lot. Those one-liners lines is so big and very significant. And that one time it just falls flat. It just falls flat. So, but
It's
overall,
cheap, bro. It's so cheap.
that's the thing. I hope the DC Warner Bros. Understand that Zack Snyder has a great vision. He's a great filmmaker, but he likes to show his movies in a long format. And I'm happy they finally realized that with HBO Max that hey, let's do mini type of movies like a 1 hour film, and then it works. Hopefully they finally understood that now to improve better production in the future. When we talk later about Wonder Woman 1984, that's a whole different story. I don't know how that movie came to be, but
Yeah,
boy.
we'll talk about that in a second. But on the topic of DCEU, right? Let's move on to the next piece of news that I wanted to talk about here briefly. Ray Fisher is no longer a part of the Flash movie, and as far as we know right now, he's no longer going to be a part of the DCEU going forward. And that's simply because he decided to come forward and tell people that there was a lot of racism on the set of Justice League from Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns. On top of that, he sent those reports to Walter Hamada, who is the head of DC Films, and he didn't do anything about it because, according to Ray Fisher, because Walter Hamada is such good friends with Jeff Johns, that he didn't want to make his friend lose his job or anything like that. So I applaud Ray Fisher for coming out. It's not easy for someone to do something like this and burn a bridge with one of the biggest movie studios in the world. But I applaud him because it's not right. If what he's saying is true, and there was blatant racism against him while the film was being filmed, then he has a right to say something. And Walter Hamada should have done something about it instead of covering it up if it's all true. But why lose out on this opportunity if it's not true? You know what I mean?
I agree 100% with what you said is that the way he's doing it is going to also hurt his career in the long run because this also, like you said, is going to burn bridges. This could probably burn his bridge from being Cyborg in the future films. It's going to depend on how this goes on with the further months ahead with this stuff he's doing. And also, with how social media is, I don't think it's the best route. Like doing it with Twitter and everything, showing the pictures, showing the screenshots, is not the best route either. Like this should be done behind closed doors. Yes, tell people what's going on, but like have an interview. Like, hey, have a publicist, go to some type of outlet, have an interview where you could speak with somebody, but don't just post it out in the web and just. It could also be, like I said, what's true, what's false.
Yeah. I mean, the first time he brought it up was, I think it was during DC Fandom. No,
It
it
was,
was
yeah.
before
It was like a week before or something like that, because I remember
Yeah,
that it
Zack
happened
Snyder
nearby.
had some other event before DC Fandom, and then Ray Fisher did an interview and told everybody what happened on set with Joss Whedon and everything. And because nothing happened because of that, that's where he decided to take to Twitter and say everything that he said. But I mean, I stand with Ray Fisher. I hope all of this is true. I don't know why he would burn these bridges if it wasn't true, because he had a great opportunity being Cyborg in this universe. Because I mean, there's not many black characters in the DCEU right now, and he was one of them. Although I'm not a big Cyborg fan in general, like I wanted to see, like I'm very excited to see like everything that they cut out of the Snyder cut, because when you look at the trailers for Justice League in the beginning, Cyborg had a lot of different scenes as Victor Stone, and all of those scenes were cut from Justice League. So I'm
Cyborg
very excited to see that.
and plus the Flash as well. Both of those character, because who remember Iris West in the trailers and never showed up in that one time of the movie?
She's not in it at all.
So like I'm happy for Ray Fisher. I want to stand that, but also I hope the best with him. Like I hope this route he took, hopefully he stands with it and don't stop. Like if you're gonna go with this route and do what you're doing, don't stop. Like because you chose this route already. And two, I hope for the best for the future of him. I hope we see him back with Cyborg because he is intrigued with this idea and everything. And it sucks that he got left from the project of The Flash, but this project of The Flash has gotten 4, 5, 25 different directors, screenwriters, and everything already. So who knows with this project if it's ever going to be made. Green Lantern's Corps was supposed to come out as well. So a lot of projects that they've announced, just don't announce no more. Just say, hey, we're coming out. We have a team now. Make a trailer, and then from there we can go on.
Yeah. Ray, to answer your question, yes, Snyder did leave because he had a family emergency.
Yep.
I just wish Joss Whedon continued Zack's script and continued the things that he shot
Of his vision,
instead of trying to make a terrible Avengers version of the Justice League, because it didn't work. Like he had Batman making quips in Justice League. I'm like, this is not what Bruce Wayne Batman does. Like I hated
Bruce.
all of that stuff.
That's Nightwing, that's Tim maybe, and that's Terry. They're the ones with the quips.
Exactly.
Bruce don't do quips. Bruce don't ever do it. He says, I will throw you off the roof, then I'll ask you questions. He's that type of character. He don't do quips. He throws people off the roof, shoots them, and then asks them questions after they're almost half dead. No.
What doesn't kill them?
Yeah. Unless in Batwoman he kills the Joker, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But keep going on the topic of DC news. So Walter Amada also had an interview with New York Times where he mentioned that there was going to be 2 Batmen running at the exact same time. A bunch of different outlets ran with the headlines that Michael Keaton is going to be the replacement for Ben Affleck in the DCEU, based on absolutely nothing besides when Walter Amada said that there was going to be 2 Batmen at the same time.
What's funny, when I saw that happen, I think it was a trustworthy news outlet or a person that knows, good leaks and everything. All they said was Michael Keaton. And then once that person just tweeted that, they said, oh, there's a confirmation. I'm like, just because a person tweeted is confirmation? How? Why are we in this day and age, once a person tweets, it's not confirmation. It's a tweet. It's an opinion.
And the thing is, it's completely out of context. Because
yes, it was.
Walter Amada never says anything about Michael Keaton taking over for Ben Affleck.
All they said was, there's 2 Batmans in one run, which I still have mixed feelings about that. Like, as much as I love Batman, but like, can we just finish telling the current story we're telling about Bruce, aka with the current Zack Snyder cut, and then with the other one that's supposed to come out whenever it's supposed to come out with this pandemic? So can we first tell with this story and then find out later if there is 2 or 3 Batmans going on? Like, it's weird having 2 Batmans going on at the same time, but as long as you tell good stories, I am all for it.
So that's the thing, right? So the interviewer who interviewed Hamada had to go on Twitter to clarify after he saw all of the different headlines. He's like, when Hamada told me that statement, all he meant was that Michael Keaton will be playing Batman in the Flashpoint movie, and then the Flashpoint movie will be taking place while the Matt Reeves Batman movies are happening at the same time. That's all he meant.
But wasn't the Flashpoint one was supposed to have the guy from The Walking Dead that was supposed to play as Thomas Wayne?
I mean, that was always a rumor. That was never confirmed
Okay.
by anybody.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay. So,
Yeah, so Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are both going to be in the Flashpoint movie.
and
And then the
also,
Flashpoint movie is going to be coming out while the Matt Reeves trilogy is happening.
I
So
was
that's
about to
all
access. So,
Hamada meant.
so that's technically 3 Batmans at the same time because we also have
Yeah.
Robert in there. Just says like we have 3 Batmans technically. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, someone
lot.
is definitely taking over for Ben Affleck, but it's not Michael Keaton. I have
Yeah.
no idea why people ran with that headline, not following any of the major sources, but I digress.
Yeah, and plus it's like if DC wants a Batman, it's technically gonna be Robert Pattinson because they want a young guy. They want a person who plays the role for the next 10 years or for 3 or more movies, like you said, like James said, a trilogy. They don't want Michael Keaton who's already in that age unless they're gonna do Terry McGinnis. But then how do you jump from Bruce to Terry without even explaining Dick or Tim or anything like that? So it's like I don't know where they're going. If they choose
They
what
haven't
route,
thought that far ahead.
they haven't.
They haven't
It's
thought
like-
that far ahead.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, someone is definitely going to take over for Ben Affleck eventually, and it's not going to be Robert Pattinson because his Batman takes place outside of the DCEU in a completely different universe. And I think Robert Pattinson is only interested in this Batman because he's interested in the psyche of Bruce Wayne. He's interested in the mindset of this kid that lost his parents and literally dedicated the rest of his entire life to wearing a costume and beating people half to death. So that's what interests Robert Pattinson in this character. I think if they wanted to cast him in the DCEU, I don't think he would have done it. Because I don't think like the DCEU has an actual plan for their characters.
They don't. And I'm excited that Robert Joseph because this is year 1 Batman. This is when he learned how to be a detective and learn who is Batman. Like learning, okay, I should have a code. That's when he was building that code. So to see the year 1 comics of Batman I read to actually see it happen, I'm excited. And people gotta stop calling him Twilight. No, he's not. Watch other movies he has done. He's actually a good actor.
Thank you. He's a great actor.
Well, I can't say since I haven't seen everything, so I could just say good. You have seen more, so I could like I trust your opinion in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean the last Twilight was what, almost 10 years ago? Like get over it. He's done so many other movies. But anyways, the another piece of DC news that I wanted to talk about was the fact that Green Arrow and the Canaries will not be moving forward on the CW, and instead Superman and Lois is going to be launched, right? So I am completely pissed about this news.
Same here.
I feel like Green Arrow and the Canaries would have been a great follow-up from the Green Arrow series. And on top of that, where the CW verse is right now, the only street level hero is Batwoman, right? Because everyone else has powers. So you could have had Green Arrow and the Canaries that would have been separated from the original Arrow series by like 30 years.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about rehashing things you've already done before. And then you can focus on these 3 amazing women and the rest of the Canaries saving Star City from evil. I feel like that was a great opportunity for this show. The backdoor pilot was great.
It was enjoyable.
We spent years with these characters on the Arrow show. We've seen them in the crossovers, and they're great. You know what I mean? So I don't get why they canceled it.
I actually had a good time with Dana Lance and with the Earth 2 Laura Lance. They actually had good chemistry. They both have the same powers, and they already have the people that know how to do the whole CG and plus VFX. What else can you do? They already have these actors and actresses that wants to do this. So for you to cancel and have a show that nobody asked for, maybe it's a Superman show, yes, but Superman and Lois, nobody read those comics when you guys launched it in the comics before. Those did not make a lot of money. So I don't know why you guys think part TV show maybe.
I don't even want a Superman series with this guy. Because here's my issue, right? They only introduced him on Supergirl to make Supergirl look stronger. He's only on that show to look really weak so that Supergirl can look stronger.
Well, in the comics,
why would I want to watch a show about this guy, man?
Well, Tyler Hoechlin, I know him from Teen Wolf. I've met him. He's a cool dude. He's really buff. I've met him, and that's even after he does not the show. He's still buff as hell. But seeing him, and also props to the new suit. The new suit looks a lot better, at least, than the one he first had before. Because that old suit did not look great on him. It was the whole Superman suit supposed to be tight on the actor. The one that he currently has, thank God, looks so much better. But the show Superman
Yeah,
and
because they
Lois.
gave him muscle pads.
Could be that too. It could be that too. But the idea and concept of Superman and Lois doesn't bring me any excitement to watch. Like, yeah, me and James will watch the first 2 episodes and probably give a review. Would we be excited to watch it? Maybe not. But we're just curious on how's it gonna go, because guess what? There's a show called Supergirl that had 3 seasons of 4, and they already used almost every single villain that happened already in that show of Superman list.
That's the other
what
thing,
can you
right?
do?
Like,
What can
Supergirl
you
has
do?
already used up like half of his rogues gallery. Like, what are you gonna do?
like Ray said it before in our group chat. The only reason they brought Lex Luthor back is because when they do the show of Superman and Lois, they already have a Lex Luthor. And which again, when Ray told me that he's the guy from the show of 2.5 Men, still shocked
Yeah.
me.
He's great.
He's great though.
I think he really gets what Lex Luthor needs to be, and I think he kills it. Honestly, I
Oh.
really enjoy watching him.
He's great. Because at first I'm like, yo, this guy's good. But once I find out who he was, I'm like, okay, I gotta give this dude props. But it's also thrilled to see how the chemistry of Tyler Hoechlin, aka as him as Clark / Superman, is gonna be with this Lex Luthor. Because from what I recall, I don't remember seeing a lot of screen time with them in the crossover or Supergirl. So I'm really
Yeah, it
curious
was
to know.
just a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm curious to know as a main show, how's their chemistry gonna be? How's it? And if the show's actually good, I'm all for it. I want to knock it, I'll be honest. And if it gets if the show's less than 15 episodes and it does not go more than that, maybe they have a good story, because they also have twins. They might have Jonathan Kent, and if they do Connor Kent as his other twin, which is also questionable, because I'm like, Connor Kent's not really his son; it's supposed to be his half brother. So it doesn't.
Yeah,
make sense.
I mean, we will see how it goes. We will be talking about
Yes.
Superman and Lois on Villains, so you guys will know our thoughts on it. And if it's good, I mean, I'll keep watching it. Like, I don't want to shit on it. It's just when you've given me this Superman that I don't care about because you made him look like a bitch on Supergirl, I don't care. You know what I mean? I really like the actress that plays Lois. I feel like she's very strong. She's very confident on the Supergirl show. I liked her in the Crisis crossover. I thought she was really cool.
I do agree that she was good. She held her ground, her feet. She had some good lines, and the chemistry they had with Tom Welling was really great. Still love that scene when they played that song "Somebody Save." I'm like, oh my gosh, like if they make it good at Smallville, but with better story from what they had, if they could do it like this, I'm all for it. If they could, if those screenwriters, if they grew up with Smallville, if they love what they saw back then and just want to improve in the beats and everything, if they could do what we saw as kids, if they could do that in Superman Lois, I trust them then. But
Yeah,
we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will watch the show. We'll see how good it is, and we'll let you guys know firsthand. Light. I would love to see a Static Shock Netflix series. Michael B. Jordan is actually working on a movie.
But it's not gonna be Netflix. It's gonna be on HBO Max, since that's owned by DC. Or it's a weird conundrum with Static Shock and the brand of theirs, since they have a weird thing with DC and everything. But it will be on HBO Max most likely, and I'm all for it. Static Shock was early in its prime. If you guys rewatch Static Shock, they have messages that still work on this day and era about racism and stuff like that, class. It looks so good. So if you have not watched Static Shock, yes, the cartoon is a bit outdated, but it's still good. The whole messages still hit. Highly recommend.
I love Static Shock. I love that Michael B. Jordan is producing this movie. I believe it's a movie. I don't think it's a series, but I would prefer a series. I feel like Static Shock, you can't do enough with Virgil in 90 minutes.
And plus, they have Black Lightning. They can know how to do lightning powers and everything. I'm just curious to know how they're going to do with his surfboard that he travels with. So that's what I'm curious to know, how they're going to do it with the CG and everything.
Yeah, I think that would be dope. I would love to see that.
Most likely for him, they will give him a skateboard. Knowing that the character in itself, they might give him a skateboard instead. But it's overall Static Shock. We approve here.
Yeah. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some Marvel news. So first Marvel news that I wanted to talk about was the potential that Chris Evans is going to be returning as Captain America. So THR put out an article saying that their sources have told them that Chris Evans could potentially be signing a new deal with Marvel Studios to come back as Captain America. I don't necessarily think he'll be back as Cap in like the suit and the shield or anything, but I do think he could come back as old Steve on like on like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think that would be really cool to have old Steve show up on that show. Or it could even be like a small cameo in one of the future movies in Phase 4. So what do you think about this news, and where would you like to see Steve Rogers show up?
All right, so me and James spoke behind the scenes and everything before you started,
Oh, yeah.
and let me know if you guys agree with me, because I guess so far me and James are half and half on this idea. So me on my boat, so one thing's actually to rewatch this past week was actually the Fantastic Four. Don't ask me why. I was just bored at late, and I'm like, let me just watch some nostalgia that's not good or bad. So I like him as Human Torch. Mate, what you say about Doctor Doom in the Thing? Yo, the Thing does not hold up. The Thing does not hold up. I was watching. I'm like, I actually enjoyed this as a kid back then. So the Thing does not. But Human Torch, CG, and the whole VFX still holds up. But him as Chris Evans, I actually enjoy it. Human Torch and everything, I actually had a good time with him as Johnny Storm. But what I like to see him, Chris Evans, come back as because we know the Fantastic Four is gonna happen after Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and we know that's gonna involve other multiverse, Deadpool, and everything. So my hope is what happened if Chris Evans comes back as Human Torch, as Johnny Storm. That's my hope. I know James is like, nah. But like, hey, we don't need to bring every single cast members we saw throughout the other Fox and plus Sony characters. But maybe some characters we can. Chris Evans enjoyed doing as Cap. Maybe he could just bring a new light of Johnny Storm. Who knows? Let me know what you guys think about that.
I'm not saying it's a terrible theory or anything. It just doesn't logically make sense, right? Because I mean, you've already announced the Fantastic Four. That movie's happening in like 4 to 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what would be the point of him cameoing as the Human Torch, only to introduce a new one in like 4 to 5 years? It just doesn't make sense to me. That's all.
But to go from what you said about old Cap and everything, we also have Black Widow. We also have stuff as Loki. We also could see him a different version of Cap as well. So because Loki is going to alternate universe. If people don't know that he's gonna be going with other people, that there's also a female Loki. So he's gonna be seeing other characters. And who does Loki hate? The Avengers. Who does he might want to kill in other type of alternative universes? Maybe the Avengers in that time. We could also see Cap. So stuff like that we could possibly see. So will Chris Evans come back as the current 616 character that we know, that we see in the MCU? Maybe not. But other versions? Maybe possibly. Maybe Johnny Storm? Who knows? Maybe. Who knows?
I'm very curious for the Loki series to see like what role the Avengers plays in that reality, right? Because I mean, that reality is just an offshoot from where Loki left, right?
Correct.
So time continues from that spot. So where are the Avengers? Like, what are they doing? Why is Thor not looking for him? Or is he? Because we see at the end of the Loki trailer that he calls for Heimdall to open up the Bifrost, and then we do see him get pulled into it, but we don't know if it's actually Heimdall.
But where are they? Because from last time we know, in the current year of 2023 of where they are in an island in Earth. So where is technically that portal that Loki is going to? So who's technically, like I said, who's technically is pulling Loki? And two, Thor is technically with the Guardian of the Galaxy in space.
Well, I mean, that's not true, right? Because Loki takes place right after the events of the first Avengers movie in 2012. So Thor being with the Guardians hasn't even happened yet. And who knows if it'll even happen if Loki doesn't get to steal the Tesseract again to then offer it to Thanos. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's what happens? Because Heimdall is still alive. So what happens? You know what I mean?
So look how we're speaking. We're speaking from a perspective that we're not in the writer's room. So I give props to the writer's room for this, because they're asking the same exact questions when they wrote this a year ago or so. No, okay, how are we going to include the characters that technically have not died yet or have not disappeared yet? Because that's going to see like, where is Heimdall, where are these characters? So you're totally right about that, because I forgot that Loki is in a definitely pocket universe where he is and what he's doing for those missions.
Yeah, it's just an offshoot timeline that takes place directly after the events of the first Avengers movie. So what does all that mean? And I'm glad that Pedro and Light brought up Kang the Conqueror, because correct. I forget what the name of the agency is, but there is a time agency in Loki that has a lot to do with Kang the Conqueror, because they've been after him in the comics. As you guys know, Kang the Conqueror is going to show up in Ant-Man 3. So it's all coming together, bro. It's going to be sick.
Which I'm very excited for, because if I'm correct, Kang the Conqueror is Pym's future son, right? Or future grandson, if I remember in the comics.
I can't remember, honestly.
Yeah, I can't remember top five. But overall, I'm excited for Kang and how's he going to connect with the whole Secret Invasion, everything like that. Is this going to connect all full circle? What stories could... I'm very happy with what our boy Kevin Feige is doing. He's doing a lot of things with the whole TV shows and everything. And are they going to bring any other characters back? Because a lot of rumors has been going on for the past couple of months with Andrew Garfield, with other Daredevil, with Matt Murdock. Is he coming back for Spider-Man? So I'm really curious to know, what are these rumors? Will they be confirmed down the line in the future? Are we going to see them in the films and everything? So that'll be overall exciting.
Yeah. So in that interview with Collider, Kevin Feige did mention briefly that they have access to all of those characters.
And all he did was a nod. He's like, because I saw the same interview, and like, I was just laughing because I'm like, all he's doing like, you guys will see. And I'm like, he's so good at, he's much better than most people that don't know how to lie, like Tom Holland that knows how to spill a lot of spoilers and everything, and plus Mark and everything, because all he does is like, you guys will see, like, we have the access, yeah, and it just nods like, okay, go for the next question.
Yeah. Because I mean, he doesn't want to give that stuff away, and Kevin Feige is way too smart to, even if he wanted to bring in Daredevil and all of these other characters, there's no way he would recast them. Everyone loves Charlie Cox. Yes. No one wants to see anyone else play Daredevil, dude.
The only person that will get recast, and that's Iron Fist. They will not
I don't think so. Go ahead.
Because also people like the actress that played for Jessica Jones. People like the guy that play Luke Cage. Forgot his name. Can't remember his name, but they like him. Iron Fist, he was good, but the TV show itself, I heard improve in season 2. I have not watched it myself, but I think that's the only person.
I haven't seen season 2 either.
That's only.
I like Iron Fist season 1. I think it's deep.
I just think that if he does come back, I hope they say, hey, let's improve your acting, let's improve your stunts and everything. Because I heard he was good in
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like a lot of people like him and everything, but then when I saw the show, I'm like, why does he look very subpar though? So I hope
So here's the thing, right? So Iron Fist season 1 was rushed. Like, they did not have good enough time for him to do like actual fight training and fight choreography training before they started shooting. So that's why it looks really sloppy and chopped up.
Because it bothered me how he's supposed to be the king of Kung Lung and trained to be the sword of the dragon of Iron Fist, but then gets beat up almost every episode by people when he's supposed to be so good at Kung Fu and other 85 different martial arts.
Yeah, there's a lot of like logical inconsistencies in comic book TV shows. Like for instance, right? Like Laurel and Arrow, she trained with one boxer for 6 months, and magically she was able to beat up 3 members of the League of Assassins. Don't know how. Doesn't make any sense.
Comic book knowledge sometimes in comic books is great, but when they get adapted to TV, and I think sometimes you just, what Josh Knapp said before, and I was remember, you have to see these type of shows in TV like Elseworld that is adapted, but you cannot see them as adaptations. I'm like, I see what you mean now, because sometimes when I question myself, like, but Stephen Amell got trained by 6 years in hell by League of Assassins, Deathstroke, and everybody else. But Laura gets trained by less than a year and somehow could go toe-to-toe with other people with Stephen Amell as Green Arrow. Like, what?
Right? Like, yeah, I was just about to say it's Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is actually like one of my most anticipated MCU movies that's coming out in Phase 4. Because I'm ready to see another street-level hero, right? I'm ready to see him go up against the 10 Rings. I'm excited for the Eternals so that we can get more of like the cosmic world in the MCU. But I want to get back to Earth. I want to get back to another part of Earth where we can get, again, another street level hero. And the actor playing him is so charismatic. He lobbied for this role for years, and I'm so glad that he actually got it.
I'm happy for him, but also I'm excited what you said, that street level hero. But also, if people know if you search on YouTube, search for the top 10 strongest MCU and plus DC characters, Shang-Chi is one of the top 10 knows how to do martial arts and everything in characters. He has gone toe to toe in the comics against Captain America, Moonlight, Taskmaster, people that are like top tier in combat. To see Shang-Chi and everything, it's exciting to finally see the film end of the year, right? Comes end of the year, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
I
it
have
was in
to I have
November.
to fact check.
Yeah, but I'm thrilled. What James said, I just can't wait to see a street level hero come back and actually does kick ass, and it's a whole Asian cast, and that's beautiful as well.
Yeah, bro, and it's the director of Crazy Rich Asians. Like,
Still
I'm
have not seen the film yet.
so excited, dude. It's such a good movie, such a good movie. I can't wait for you to see it. Last piece of news that I wanted to talk about, since Pedro brought up Moon Knight, Ethan Hawke has officially joined Oscar Isaac as the villain of Moon Knight. No confirmation as to what character he'll be playing. Chat, if you guys have any guesses, please let us know. I'd love to talk to you guys about it.
Yes.
But I'm very excited for Oscar Isaac to be Moon Knight. I would love to see an R-rated Moon Knight series, but I doubt it. I think it'll be like TV mature, because I don't think you can do like a PG version of Moon Knight. Like, you need it to be brutal. You need it to be able to hold up to everything that Moon Knight is. But I don't think it'll be rated R. I would love it though.
I think it'll be rated R, because if Kevin Feige knows that Deadpool needs to be rated R, he will put Moon Knight as rated R, and he will tell like, hey guys, when you go on all Disney Plus, make sure you're over 18 for you to watch the show, because Moon Knight, I don't know much about his lore. Or I know that I've read a couple of his comics. I don't know much about a lot of his antagonists and everything. But I know people like to call him as the Bruce Wayne of Batman in the MCU in Marvel, because he literally is as brutal as Batman and almost has the same suit as the whole gadgets and everything. But I'm excited because Oscar Isaac is a great actor, and to have Ethan Hawke as his antagonist, can't wait to see how that type of chemistry will be on scene. Going, because to see the type of monologues, to some type of action scene, because Moonlight is also a character that's with comeback. So are we going to see a character that's more behind the scenes as a villain, or are we going to see some type of antagonist that goes toe to toe against Moonlight?
Yeah, I'm hoping that the villain he's going to play will more play towards Moon Knight's like his psyche. Because we expect to see Moon Knight beat the shit out of people, right? We're going to see that, but I think for the first villain, it should be someone that matches like his intellect, that he really has to like think in order to defeat this villain. That's just what I would like to see, and we'll see where it goes, man. We're gonna be talking about Moon Knight here on Villains, so I can't wait for that.
One nice crossover I like to see is Moon Knight with the Punisher in the future. If John Berta comes back, if they bring characters with the whole Netflix and everything come back slowly, John Berta with Punisher and Moon Knight, that would be a dream to see, because in the comics they're brutal when they work together, and to see that in the TV show, that would be exciting to see.
Yeah, that would be amazing, and I can't wait for that series. Can't wait to see Oscar Isaac suit up. He's doing so many great things. He's in the new Metal Gear Solid movie too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait for that too. Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's get into our WandaVision episode 1 and 2 review.
And put spoilers in the chat, so in case you guys have not seen, we'll be talking about full length of the show, and we will be doing another show on Friday. Will be episode 2, so we'll be talking about every Friday when the shows drop of WandaVision. We will be talking about it. So, James, your thoughts first, since I haven't heard your thoughts, so I'm curious to hear you first, actually, this time.
So I loved WandaVision, right? It gave me exactly what I was looking for. Episode 1 paid more homage to like I Love Lucy. The second episode was more of like I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched kind of thing.
Yep. Correct.
I
Bewitched.
absolutely love that. I love the fact that everything feels like the era that it's in. I love that the show is actually in stereo. The aspect ratio.
Love it.
Yeah, all accurate to the time period. The acting is accurate to the time period. The jokes and everything. And I love watching Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany play off of each other. I feel like they do a really, really good job. They feel like this couple, because I feel like it was kind of rushed, right? Like we saw them have a moment in Age of Ultron, and then all of a sudden in Civil War, they were just a couple, right? But just in these first 2 episodes of WandaVision, I really felt their connection. Like, what about you?
You said exactly, because these are these are movies that we see all the time every single year, but people forget that time skips. Time 6 months happen, a year happen, 3 months happen. So that's why when people say, "Oh, Chris Evans might come back as Cap," I'm like, sure, I don't mind, because there's years and months that we have not seen him as a character, as a role. So when WandaVision, the comics, we have seen the chemistry, we have seen the kids, we have seen one actually bring kids come to life, but actually see WandaVision as a couple in the movies of the MCU, we never actually saw them. They just, like you said, James, skip. This show itself, it was beautiful. It was well done. The first two episodes, it showed the chemistry between these two, and it showed that Wanda herself, again, assumption, I have not seen any a lot of theories out there, but it shows that she herself is the protagonist and the antagonist herself, because she's the one that's causing all this havoc going on within the town. And I love the way it's filmed black and white, or gray, as some people call it, because if people know about pop culture, or technically the whole TV culture itself, this is how things was filmed and shown back in the 1950s and 60s. That's how episode 1 and 2 was playing homage to. Because people on Twitter said, "Oh, this whole black and white is getting annoying." I'm like, this is how our parents,
Seriously?
grandparents, yeah, because our parents, grandparents, that's how they watched the film back then. TV shows in a box, and it was this aspect ratio, and it was amazing, because I was not bothered, but I was like, "Oh, this looks amazing." I was like, this should get bigger, and it showed that episode 2 is going to lead to episode 3 is going to show 1970s, because that's when you finally got color on screen, and that's how it's supposed to be filming everything. And I love the characters. I love the small reference of the guy, I can't remember his name, the guy from Sword that spoke in episode 2.
Well, people think it's Agent Wu. I also thought that it could potentially be Agent Wu from Sword.
That's what I thought it was, Agent Wu. So I'm like, I expect that was him, because that sounded like his voice. I think is Park. I think that's the actor's name, but can't remember at the
Randall
moment.
Park. It didn't sound like him.
It did sound like him
But
to
I
me.
don't know.
Well, who knows? We will find out within the next couple of weeks. But I love the small stuff that once she saw the color red, the whole helicopter, she saw that those things were outside of the realm of black and white. So she knew that this is breaking reality herself.
Yeah, I love all of the small hints, bro. I love seeing the Sword logo in both episodes. Chris and Brian are already talking about it in chat. For the children, this is a huge reference to Mephisto, bro. Like, this is crazy, especially with Wanda being pregnant now in the show. Mephisto wants her kids, so it's so much potential.
And plus, if you remember, I think it was in episode 2 when Vision woke up and passed a shower scene, and then passed to change clothes. When he went down, the mask of the mask was there within the roof floor. In between, yeah. So it shows that, like, the little small homages in there. They're like, this is how you tell storytelling. The small, like, seeds of cameos and storytelling. Like, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I absolutely love that scene, because it goes by so quick. And if you're not like a huge, like, sweaty nerd, like, you won't even know what the reference is. So that helmet, I believe his name is Grim Reaper in the comics, but the character itself is Wonder Man's brother, right?
Correct, yeah.
And for those of you that do know, originally in the comics, Wonder Man, his consciousness was a huge part of creating Vision.
Correct.
In the comic. So that was a great little Easter egg, and there's small little ones just hidden throughout episode 1 and 2. I love it, man.
It's just like how in episode 1, Vision told his boss, "Oh, I have no type of skeletons in my closet." And then in episode 2, when we saw the helmet, there were bones. So it's kind of a little small joke saying that there's no type of skeleton in my closet, but he has a skeleton in his floor and everything. So those type of things is like how Wanda as well. I love how when she breaks character of herself, when she's like all happy, all jolly and all. But in episode 1, when Vision's boss was dying, or being choked and everything from the food, she broke character. Vision, save him. So she broke character in that one time. Episode 2, she broke time and reverse time when she saw the Sword member coming out of the sewers, and she said no, and then she's reversed time and then changed her color and got pregnant. So she's like, she's noticing the small things that is starting to break, but she doesn't want to escape reality, because if she does, she realized that Vision is dead.
Yeah, dude. And that's the next thing that I wanted to bring up. Like, I love what this show is going for so far, and we'll see how it goes when they actually explain it. But this is clearly the MCU's version of the House of M storyline. When they introduce Wanda in the credits of the show, she's named Wanda Maximoff. Again, a huge reference to the X-Men, her X-Men origins, which is huge for the future of the MCU.
And
So
plus,
I love that. So Wanda's hex powers gives her the ability to completely change reality
correct.
to her will. So whatever she's doing, she's using her hex powers over this entire town to create this universe where her and Vision have this normal life where they live together. They're going to have kids and everything. I just want to see like how it all came about. I want to know, like, did she have like a mental breakdown? Like, how does it all happen? And why is Sword so heavily involved? Like, what part of Sword needs to reach out to Wanda? Is this orders from Nick Fury? These are all questions that I need to know.
But also, I'm curious to know because if people also notice in episode 1 when they had the dinner, the wine also said the House of M as well. So those little small nods for that. And I'm curious to know, what is it that we finally seeing her true powers? Because people have said the MCU never had mutants. Now, like James said, we're going with the storyline of the comics of the House of M. In the House of M, they actually acknowledge that she's a mutant. So what is it that she's finally using her powers? Did she explode when she moved out in this town and she just lost control? And now this whole town is kind of suffering with her powers. What is it that's going on? So I'm really curious to know. And Sword, who sent them? Is it Nick Fury said, hey, you should go check on this person I know because she lost somebody dear and we're in the year 2023, so it's been many years where she lost her true love?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Because I mean, Sword, a part of what they do is finding like superpowered beings and protecting the Earth against it, right? That's what they do. And Wanda has been through so much. Like she has like the worst case of PTSD ever. She had to watch her parents die, and then she stayed with her brother in a room that could have collapsed and blown up at any second. They finally escaped. Her brother's dead. She falls in love. Her love dies. She accidentally maims and potentially killed a few different people in Africa. So there's just a lot of different stuff like mentally going
So,
on with Wanda.
so the question now, because we know that she has the power of reality itself, and we know in the comics she also created her babies. Do you think in this version of MCU now acknowledging how powerful she is and now acknowledging that she's a mutant, do you think we will actually see Wanda actually create Vision back, bring him back to life? That's what
She's
she's
going to
probably
be
do.
she's going to be a part of it. Because the other thing, right, is what Shuri was doing at the end of Infinity War, which was rebuilding his brain essentially.
Yeah.
Like it was scattered, but they were able Shuri was able to like, well, attempt to rebuild it. So I assume they're going to get back to that. Shuri is going to rebuild Vision's mind, and then Wanda will have the abilities and use her powers to bring his body like reanimate it.
It's gonna be curious to know by the end of this season, by 7 more weeks, how are we gonna lead up to the storyline? Because this is only 9 episodes, and then right after the 9 episodes, we're gonna see Cap.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, thank you. I was trying to figure like which one first, but I'm curious to know how WandaVision is gonna bring it. Like, are they gonna bring Vision back, or is he gonna just stay dead because she had to accept reality? Like, is this the type of message that she has to learn herself? Like, this is reality, that he's dead, and she can bring him back to life, or is that how it's gonna lead to Doctor Strange, where he came back to life, but he's not the same person? I'm curious to know where are we going with this storyline.
Yeah, I think he'll definitely come back because I don't see the point of making Shuri like start rebuilding his brain if they weren't going to bring him back in some capacity. So I think it'll happen at some point. As far as when, who knows? Chat, let me know what you guys think. Like when you think we'll actually see Vision fighting on screen again. Um, I really loved WandaVision, man. Like
So
when they
here.
were doing um, the magic show. I love seeing Monica Rambeau and seeing how she plays into this because the last time we saw her was in the first Captain Marvel. So we
If I'm
saw
rec-
her. little girl in Captain Marvel, and now we see her as an adult. Now that we know that Sword's involved, she's going to become a Sword agent. Kevin Feige also revealed in that Collider interview that Monica Rambeau is going to be in Captain Marvel too. So it's all connected, and just I can't wait to see where it goes, dude.
I love that scene. That scene was my favorite because everything they said, it was playing homage to the story or stuff. Like they were kind of breaking the fourth wall. They're saying, we're gonna show you our secrets. Everything here that we're doing is real. All this is not magic. Like, and then Wanda has to pretend like, oh, there's a mirrors. Oh, there's this robe. Like, pretend that everything that Vision is telling them the truth, but then actually is about all the jokes and the whole magic she's trying to show and everything. Like, I love how the small lines she said and plus Vision was actually breaking fourth wall throughout the whole scene as well.
Yeah. Chris, that's great. I didn't even think about that. The date on the calendar in the first episode is a reference to the Avengers 238, in which Vision is resurrected. I didn't
That's a
even
nice
think about
homage.
that. That's dope. That's so true.
That's actually not so much to that. And also on the calendar in episode 1 also says the year 2023. So also shows that this is current with the timeline they're doing right now.
That's true. That's dope, man. Like, I need to go back and watch episodes 1 and 2 so I can pick up on more of the references. But I thought WandaVision had a really, really great start. Episode 1 and 2, it was so funny and yet still dark at the same time, because we want to know what's going on with Wanda, right? We want to know what's going on with her mentally. We want to know what's going on with this world that's created. I want to know more about this voice on the radio that's bleeding through. I want to know more about Sword. I want to see what they can do in 9 episodes, man. It's gonna be really, really cool.
I'm excited because also of how short they were, but Kevin Feige said that they were short because that's how TV shows were back then. They were short running series that they were only 20 episodes, 20 minutes and everything. And he said that each episode is gonna get longer on story. So I'm really excited for that. So some episode probably by episode 8 or 9 is gonna be like a full length 35, 48-minute type of show, and I can't wait to see how the story is gonna build each episode. And when Kevin said that each episode gets bigger and crazier, so I'm like, I just can't wait to see like what Wanda's gonna do herself, Vision, and the chemistry on screen is amazing as well. Like it's 2 characters throughout most of the show, but it's well balanced where it doesn't feel staggering where you check your phone and everything. It just feels very well written and well paced.
Yeah, I love the way the show is unraveling. I love all of the mysteries that they've been giving us, and I can't wait for episode 3. We will be back on Friday to talk about episode 3 of WandaVision, so that's going to be amazing. Any final thoughts on WandaVision episode 1 and 2 before we move on to the DC segment?
I'm excited. I have enjoyed with what WandaVision is, and we had a dry spell with 2020 with any comic book shows, and it is a perfect time to watch Villains on a weekly basis because we'll be talking about everything that's going to be talking about with anti-comic book related, because 2020 is one that is not going to stop. We're getting everything. WandaVision, Cap, the movies, Black Widow. It's going to be an exciting time to review this stuff week to week.
It's gonna be a great time. Brian, I agree with you. Like, I love the short episodes. Like, I love the fact
Yeah.
that like Mando episodes are really, really short. Like, they're either like between like 30 and like 46 minutes. I love that, because it you don't get any of the extra filler crap, right? Like,
Correct.
you get exactly what you need and then it's just over. I think that's why like shows like The Mandalorian and shows that don't have that many episodes per season are so good, because a lot of shows like the CW verse, like all of
doesn't
these
have-
shows that have like 24 episodes, is just a bunch of filler.
And plus, it doesn't have to be 42 minutes of where just a character just comes into the room like, I need a paper. Okay, I'm leaving now. I'm like, you could have just called this scene literally much shorter or not even need it. Just have a phone call and that's it. But you need a scene just to have this person walk in a nice dress and heels and just walk in and just leave. No.
Yeah, it's like these shows should be like 13 episodes max.
And less minutes. If that episode needs to be 25 it is. Don't extend another 15 minutes just because of budget. Pay the actors, pay the actors. No, actors and actors will understand. You need a story condensed, and that's how it's perfectly told.
Yeah. Having these episodes being more condensed, like Ray is saying, it's like it makes it exactly what we want, man. Again, there's no filler, there's no BS. We just get exactly what we need, and then it's over. That way, when the season's done and you binge the whole thing, it's perfection. Again, That's why Mando is so good. When you look at those 16 episodes, there is no filler from beginning to end. It is simply perfection. And I absolutely love it.
Which we're gonna talk about Mando in a bit as well. So let's wait there.
Oh yeah. So talking about some DC stuff, I want to talk a little bit more about Batwoman season 1 going into the Batwoman season 2 premiere, and I'll go first. I like Batwoman season 1. I like the overall arc that the showrunner and the writers have written. The dynamic between Alice and Kate is very Batman Joker-esque, but her backstory and her motivations are way different than anything that we've seen from Joker. So I do really, really like that. So much like in the CW verse with Oliver Queen, they just made Oliver Queen Bruce Wayne pretty much, right? So it's very cool to see the dynamic between Kate and Alice and everything that they've been through. I really like Luke Fox. He's one of my favorite characters on the show. The acting can be a little bit cringy, if I'm being honest. Ruby Rose is not the best actress. Like when she has to cry, when she has to be those big, like brooding Batman moments where she just like gives like a sense of fear to thugs and enemies, I don't feel it all the time. And that's because she simply just doesn't have the talent in my mind. But besides that, I think she's decent. I like her version of Batwoman. I like that this version of Batwoman in the CW is a symbol of hope for Gotham and also a symbol of hope for people like her. There's an episode in season 1, spoilers. There's an episode in season 1 where there is this high school girl who becomes a hacker.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a great episode because she was just trying to get her parents to care about her. Like her ex outed her as gay and her parents pretty much disowned her, right? And she talked about like suicide, she talked about killing herself, and seeing Batwoman come out as gay empowered her to do something with her life, empowered her to go on the right path. So what they've set up with this Batwoman is great because she should be a symbol to everyone. Um I do think maybe 20 episodes was too long for the first season. I do feel like this first season was also kind of controlled by like pre and post crisis stuff, but it ended up working. It ended up really working for me, but I do have issues. Like, what are your thoughts?
So you said the pre and post crisis that had a big importance on it because I I text James every now and then telling him how I felt throughout the show. I'm like, oh, I'm on episode 8, I'm on episode 14. But when I saw episode, I think 12 or 14, when Doppelganger Beth Kane from a different alternate universe, because
I love that actually.
I loved it. But then when they literally kill off the next episode, I'm like, what? But then why did they introduce it just to give another emotional scene with Beth from Earth One with Cat Kane? Like I felt like that was not needed. Like you could tell different ways, different moments. So that's where I agree with James. Like this 20 episodes, or without the pandemic, it could have been 22, could have been 16, 14 episodes strong, because I knew the father, the one, Jonathan Cartwright. I think that was his, the father's name.
I can't remember.
Well,
He's my least favorite character in that show. I don't care about him at all.
I hated the acting. The way he said, "But you could have come. You stay with my son. My son, he needs a friend, and you're gonna stay here because I'm gonna kidnap you." I'm like, what? And like somehow he's a great plastic surgeon. Somehow he knows how to deal with a gun.
That guy. So I like him. I thought you were talking about Kate's dad.
No. I was talking about Jonathan Cartwright. The guy that
I actually really love that arc. Honestly,
I like him, but like I don't know. Like there are times where he just threw me off. Like the acting was good, but I feel like he was going too into it. If that makes any sense.
oh yeah, I get that completely. It worked for me though. I didn't mind it. I love his arc because, I mean, he is kind of a villain that we've seen multiple times, right? He's obviously mentally and emotionally scarred from what his mother did to him. And then when you see the mother being introduced, was like, well, she's like 20 times worse than he is, like in every way, shape, or form. And he's mentally screwed up because of his mom.
they're both screw, but like, how do you screw up this girl even more? And you like once she said that, oh, how do these type of earrings look? And you're like, girl's about to get killed right now. Girl's about to get killed in this episode. And boom, and girl got killed. Sorry, not killed. Girl got flamethrower at her.
I
And
love that.
I love that scene. I was like, girl, you've been stuck in this house for years. Why didn't you do this long time ago? Like,
Stockholm syndrome, dude. It's a real thing.
yeah, I
It's
know,
the
but
only
like,
way that she could survive. Because I mean, and that's the other thing that I liked about the Cartwright character too, right? Because when there was an episode where she wanted to make a wish, and she wished to have her sister and her father back, right?
yeah,
He shows up with this newspaper. He's like, "Your family already moved on. Your dad already has a new wife.
yeah,
Everyone's moving on, right?" So that's where she turns on the persona of Alice to make it easier on herself. This is something that actually happens to people in real life,
yeah.
and I like that was actually a part of this show. So I liked it.
But the son, I knew he was gonna die at the end of the season. Those storytelling, I knew that Alice got tired of him. Like, oh, you're gonna betray me and everything. But what happened in season 2 premiere about Bruce, that just is like, we're gonna talk about in a second because about Kate Kane as well. But overall, the story, the characters, I agree with what James said about the father of Kate Kane's dad. He was not good.
Yeah, Commander Kane is boring. Like, I hate him.
He like, I don't like Batwoman. Like, why don't you just act like the version of the whole GCPD with the relationship with Batman? Just get him. Just get his persona. Become like him. Because you suck ass.
See, I don't need someone to be on the side of Batwoman, right? I don't have an issue with him having this task force that does. I mean, he believes in law and order, right? That there shouldn't be vigilantism. That's not the problem. My problem with him is that I don't feel like he's written well. Like, besides him being the father of Alice and Kate, like, what does he actually do? You know what I mean?
He doesn't do much because even the girls of Julie and plus Sophie, they have more roles and they have a better story than him. And he's taking more. He's taking more on screen. All he does is scream, tell Kate you cannot be on the task force, but then ask him, oh hey, actually be on the task force. But then actually brings both of her exes to be on the task force.
Yeah, I don't get it. I also don't like that at the end of the season, it's like, oh, we need to make a kryptonite bullet because that is the only thing that could pierce the bat suit.
And that has never happened in the comics or anything like that. So I'm like,
That's so lame. Like, they've put so much stock into this bat suit. It's like, yes, it's an impressive piece of technology, but even in the comics, some of Bruce's most impressive suits still have spaces between the armored plates where he could still be shot or stabbed.
And every time,
like, what?
Every time when the bad guys shoot her, nobody aims at the head. Like, there's literally one section
Shoot her in the face.
Like, literally, there's one section, her eyes and her mouth. Just shoot her there, but all they do is literally shoot the cape, her boobs, her chest area, legs. I'm like, you guys shooting at a suit that's called impenetrable. Shoot
It's like
parts
the
that are
season
seen.
finale. She was surrounded by crows. No one thought to shoot her in the face? What?
And then all she did was put the cape down, shot a one of the things up, and that's it. And then like nobody decided to just cut the rope, throw a line or something.
Yeah, and let's get into season 2 because the season 2 begins, and this is pretty much the new arc. The new arc is everyone trying to get their hands on this small little piece of kryptonite to, I guess, make a bullet so that it can kill Batwoman, right? And then we've been waiting this entire time to figure out, oh, well, how do we remove Kate Kane as Batwoman, especially with the way that season 1 ended? And then how do we introduce Javicia Leslie as the new Batwoman? And then we don't know if she's dead. That hasn't been confirmed. We don't know if she's dead, but the body can't be found from the plane crash.
Exactly.
Really?
Because if you guys have read comics, or if you have seen the show Arrow, if you don't find the body itself, like Sarah Lance, where she technically was supposed to die in the boat crash, but guess what? She came back alive a couple years later. So just like that, once the body is found, when you know it's dead. So Kate Kane, technically Ruby Rose could come back in the future. We never know. But at the moment, she's dead. And it was lackluster.
Thing, right? Why not make a definitive statement that she's dead? Why not just make it clear in the sand? And this is how I would have written it. Instead of just bitching about it, this is how I would have written it. Batwoman was in a fight with some villain or a group of villains, and she died. Really? A plane crash? That's the best you got? Like, this is Independence Day resurgence all over again. Captain Stephen Hiller died in a training exercise. No! No, it's stupid. It's fucking lame. You built up this amazing character, and she dies in a fucking plane crash. And then that's the thing, right? They tell you that they can't find the body. What's the point? Ruby Rose doesn't want to come back. If she wanted to come back, she would have done season 2. She was given the lead role of a great character, an iconic character, on her own TV show.
She is
Why
the main role.
leave the door open when giving the cape and cowl to someone else? It doesn't make any sense.
They just probably have hopes for the actress to change her mind, or maybe to do a cameo in the future. But if you don't mind, I want to talk about Bruce. Bruce,
Go ahead.
Bruce in the comics, we all know he's a playboy. He is a billionaire, and every artist have drawn him as one of the best looking man. Even as Dick Grayson, one of the best looking ass. You know the small things of characters from comics and TV shows. This Bruce in the Batwoman show, I'm sorry, but I'm probably better looking. James probably better looking than this dude, because I saw this dude. I'm like, I'm sorry, but what's so playboy about this actor? Like, maybe he's a good-looking dude, has a wife, some kids, and everything. Sure, props to you, my guy. But on a TV show where you're supposed to play Bruce Wayne, the playboy dude who's supposed to be Batman, I don't see you the type of guy that has a jawline, looking good, with a cowl on your face. I don't see that.
Yeah, and here's my other issue with the Hush character, right?
Oh, Hush. Oh.
How does he change heights? Explain that to me. How does he change heights and body types?
I was about to tell you, how do you get
What?
How do you get a bigger chest? Like, I remember the guy that played Tommy. You look skinny. You look very scrawny.
Never worked out a day in his life, and all of a sudden he's as chiseled as Bruce Wayne and like as tall. What?
Like, how do you go from probably, let's say, Tommy probably weighed 160 pounds, let's just say. How do you go from 160 and then you get a new face and go from 200 pounds?
I don't know, dude.
How do you get that dizzle? Me and James was watching together, and we were both like, how did he go from big to small, or small to big? Like we get it, the song, 0 to 100 real quick. This was a definition of 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah, it worked in the comics because Hush was actually the exact same height and build as Bruce Wayne. That's why it worked. And he was actually Bruce Wayne's friend, so he could impersonate him because he knew everything about Bruce.
So
even his identity as Batman. So it's like,
I haven't read much about Hush and stuff in the comics, or I did not see the whole movie that was animated a year ago and everything. But I heard good things about it. To see this adaptation of Hush the character, very lackluster to me. I was expecting more from this character as Hush and everything, and not to see him as in the episode where he just like how you go to Bruce and just start to sleep with women after you come back, you leave jail and you just get the kryptonite, and that's it. It's just like everything is all jolly and just pretend to be good. Like,
yeah, he puts on a face and then he's just magically just like Bruce Wayne. Like, you've never met the guy, you don't know anything about him, you know nothing. So how are you able to pull off this persona? It doesn't make sense.
And plus,
Chris is like, maybe he's Clayface. He's not. And that's the thing, right? Why not just make this character Clayface? Because when his father injected him in the neck, right? I was like, oh, he's turning him into Clayface. That would be really cool, right?
Yeah.
It's not fucking Clayface. He's just Hush. So it's like, how does his body physically change forms? It doesn't make any sense.
But that's what we have to do on comic book TV shows, disbelief, and be like, sure.
Just make him Clayface. Everything can be explained if you just made him Clayface.
And we know Luke Fox, smart kid, he's the son of Lucius Fox. And Luke Fox, you're supposed to be a smart dude. You work with Kate Kane, you work with, a lot of stuff, smart stuff. Why did you not realize when Bruce was like, yeah, you've been the man of the castle for so long? He's like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, you was questioning already. Continue question. This dude just came back out of nowhere after years and not responding to you said
TV show
30,000
bullshit.
Texas. And like I was kind of like, Luke Fox, you just was so good throughout the whole season. Hopefully they don't just throw you under the rug and be like, yeah, let's just ruin his whole character.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see where it goes. I do think Javicia Leslie is a good actress. She has some moments of dialogue, some exposition that she has to give in the first minutes of the episode, and I really, really believed her. Instantly, I understand her struggle, right? Because she is a minority in so many senses of the word. She's a black lesbian woman who is also an ex-con, right? And she really, really portrayed to me someone who is trying to make the best of her life when the system failed her. So it makes sense to me that she would take up the mantle as Batwoman because this is how she can give back to the city. I just wish that they explained it in a much better way than they did. Instead of, oh, Kate Kane, she just, yeah, she died in a plane crash and her suit was just found on a beach. What?
Yeah, that also bothered me. How do you have the suit just in a bag? It just came out of nowhere. Like, how do you, like, did the plane crash just literally crash her luggage? It just happened to magically open the luggage. Like, here, magic person that comes here and find the suit. Look at it. I'm Will Smith. Look at this. Find
It's
the suit. Use it.
You had months, like because of COVID, you had even more time to think of something more constructive to remove Kate Kane and put in Ryan Wilder. And I just think it's so lame. I'm very interested to see what she does. Like, I think she's great. I think she's charismatic. I think she'll be able to pull off the fear aspect of Batwoman. But I just hate the way that she became Batwoman. It just seems really forced to me.
So I want to add to what you said earlier. I give props to her monologue that she did in the sewers right in front of Luke Fox and plus to Mary. What she did in that monologue, it showed that she's a good actress. She knew how to do her scene, and give props to her, because for you to remember those exact numbers and say that whole line on your own as a monologue character to two people is amazing. Job well done. And also you stood your ground as a character, showing that I could do this role as Batwoman and I could hold this show myself. So give that props. We will see how the next episodes lead up to, how she does. But two, how are you a guy that built the suit, Luke Fox, and don't have a shutdown button too? Like, she literally said, hey, I'm gonna take the suit. Since you guys can't stop me, I need to give back to this world. Bye, guys. Boom. And Luke Fox said, all right, we can't do much. We leaving. I'm like, but you built the suit. You don't have a remote access if somebody presses the suit. Like shut down, press buttons off.
But
What?
plot, because she has to find the people.
What?
She has to find all the corrupt crows and all that stuff. So I mean, Ryan does have a really good arc. I will give them that. Like, Ryan has her own real arc for this season and for the show going forward. Again, I just hate the way that she ended up being Batwoman. So, I thought it would have been something more impressive.
Without the more very thing about nitpicking as Kate Kane and everything like that, I'm curious about story structure now. Where are we gonna go with Beth Kane? Where are we gonna go with technically Alice? Where are we gonna go with this fake Bruce Hush? Where are we gonna go now with this new Batwoman? How are they gonna intertwine their story now? Because technically this Batwoman has no type of connection with Beth Kane and Hush. Because technically Beth wanted to kill her sister and have this grand story. Like, technically I'm gonna have my father kill her, and then once he take out the cow, she's gonna be like, wait, I killed my daughter, whoa. But now she can't do that. So what is it that, how are they going to intertwine their story? How are they going to connect? And we know by episode 3 or 4, they're going to have her work with Luke Fox. So how are they going to work as a team? What's going to happen? So I'm curious on how's that going to go.
Yeah, you bring up some really good points, dude. It's like, how does she fit in with Hush and Alice? Because like you said, there is no connection with them on this show. So how does that work? I don't think that Alice gives a shit about Wonder Woman, about Batwoman enough. She only cared because it was Kate, because it was her sister, and she either wanted her sister back by ruining her reputation or whatever. So it's like, I don't know how it's gonna happen going forward.
Same here.
Let's just hope that it's better than the explanation of how she finds the Batsuit.
I hope so too. I hope we have a good arc. And my assumption, imagine if we saw the flashback of how her one person she cares about is her mom got killed
Mhm.
in that type of burglary. What happened if maybe Beth Kane as Alice, she's the one that actually got that done, or some type of major boss crime, the one that probably connects with Alice. Maybe that's how the story intertwines.
I hope not, dude, because I feel like that would be forced, right? I
It's
feel like
forced,
that's
but
like, oh yeah, go
what
ahead.
else can you do? Like, what else can you do to try to connect this character? Like me, I'm just assuming from just seeing the first episode, where can we go from story? Maybe they already have this idea written out, but like you said, hopefully it's much better than having the whole bat suit in the beach.
Yeah, I would just hate it if it was just rewritten and just retcon. Like, oh yeah, no, Alice actually had something to do with like her mom's death. Like, I just feel like that would be kind of lame. But I mean, what's the alternative? They were kind of rushed into this situation with Ruby Rose wanting to leave the show. So I don't know. Like I said, I really like Javicia Leslie on the show. I think she's charismatic. I think she does a really good job of putting on a different persona when she's under the cape and cowl. I think that her motivations are true, much like Batman. She has lost family. She has lost a sense of purpose and in her life, and being Batwoman can give her purpose for herself and to save the people of Gotham. So that's something that I really, really appreciate, and I hope to see in the show going forward. But we'll see what happens in the rest of season 2, man. Make sure you guys stay locked right here on Villains for our review of every single episode. Did you have any other thoughts on Batwoman before we move on to our final segment?
One thing I also want to give props. I love the new opening of Batwoman,
Yes.
because the first one that they used for the first season, it was to me like too straightforward. It was just the whole battering just going in. But this one being shot and then going in like that, to me was more smooth. They actually was being more creative, so I really like that. Those small details I like seeing as a show, as a product. So I want to give props to that as well.
Yeah, I really like that opening as well, and hopefully it evolves as the show goes on.
Same.
So last segment, just wanted to talk about two things. Well, actually, three things in the world of Star Wars. So first off, Liam Neeson said in an interview that he would love to come back as Qui-Gon, whether it's in the Obi-Wan series or in a future film, if asked. So Vash, I want to know from you. Chat, I want to know from you guys as well. Like, would you guys like to see Qui-Gon show up as a Force ghost in the Obi-Wan series, or would you like to see him show up in a movie later on? Like, what do you guys think, or another Disney Plus series? Let me know.
If we do, I just want him to say that line like, "I have a special set of skills. I have some force powers. I could come and find you," because I just love Liam Neeson as an actor, and he was good in the original trilogy. I want him to see more of that character, um, as that role, and to see him with that chemistry with Obi-Wan. It would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I would love to see him come back in Obi-Wan. I feel like it would be the perfect opportunity. Because, I mean, this is Obi-Wan after the events of Revenge of the Sith, right? I think it's like
Yes.
almost 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. And I mean, he went to Tatooine to be in solitary. You know what I mean? So getting some words of wisdom from his master, I think would be amazing.
It would be nice to see him, because I know that he enjoyed that role a lot, and it was short lived. So I hope to see more of the character itself. So I hope we do. If he comes back, that would be nice. Because, like, hey, I'd like to come back. Just ask me. Like, he's just willing to say, hey, just slide in my DMs. I would love to come to come and act as his role again. Like, that is what he literally telling the people. Like, hey, just come text me. I got nothing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, why not? It wouldn't take him what, like a week worth of shooting just to be a Force Ghost real quick. I think that would be awesome to have Qui-Gon show up after all of this time, especially for the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah, and plus to hear that type of chemistry is like, I could have done better as a master, right? Because like you said, like to hear him from like ask for a word of advice, what can I do, my master? Like those type of messages to hear from the show is always very beautiful in Star Wars.
Yeah. Another piece of news that I wanted to talk about
That's the
was
one I want.
we have an announcement that Star Wars is going to be doing an open world, a fully open world Star Wars game. I think that would be insane. I can already see that game being one of my favorite games ever, because Jedi Fallen Order is without a doubt, in my mind, the best Star Wars game ever made, right? and that's somewhat open world. Can you imagine a fully open world Star Wars game where you can have your own ship and you can choose to be like a bounty hunter that goes to different planets? You can go and choose different missions and just do whatever you want completely outside of the main campaign. I think that would be amazing. A Grand Theft Auto version of Star Wars. Like that would be sick. Like what do you think?
I'm excited because, sadly to say, have not played any of the new ones like Battlefront. Have not played any of the ones you mentioned. I grew up with Star Wars Unleashed and Old
Mhm.
Republic, like those games. And the last one I played was Star Wars Unleashed, and I loved it. Those games was amazing. Sam Witwer who did an amazing job to voice the
So
character and
good.
everything. He was amazing, and I want those characters back. I want the Stars Unleashed game remaster or done again because that game was amazing. Sadly, I never finished it because I got to one of those levels that was super hard that I could have never beaten. But just to play those games and see that story happen again and open world, I would love to see that because I love Star Wars. Me and James got fallen in love with Star Wars again because of Mandalorian and of how well it is. So to see a good game of Star Wars from open world is brilliant, and I hope they put all the time, all the effort, all the story lore of characters you could play. Because bounty hunters, if you guys have seen Clone Wars, Rebels, bounty hunters are one of the most interesting type of characters. Because if you have seen Boba Fett has gotten more interesting just because of Mandalorian as well.
So
So
good,
it's
bro.
possible to see interesting characters and voiceover from all characters that we love to hear. Maybe Sam Witwer could come back as well as voice other characters, and he's such a
Oh
great
yeah.
voice actor.
Yeah. Chris, you brought up something amazing. I would love to see a conversation between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan talking about Anakin, talking about how
Yes,
Obi-Wan failed to 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 save Anakin. Like that would be a very very interesting conversation. One to open up the mind of Qui-Gon and his thoughts on it, but maybe it'll help Obi-Wan heal. You know what I mean? Maybe talking to his master, maybe Qui-Gon tells him maybe there was nothing you can do. There was nothing you could do to save Anakin. This was just the will of the Force.
correct.
And for there to be balance, he had to be the great evil so that the greatest Jedi to ever live, Luke Skywalker, could exist.
I,
Right? So it could be that.
you said it perfectly. Like that, one had to fall for one to rise. Just like the rule of two has been said before, and many other type of religion in the war of Star Wars. And I can't wait to see that happen. And if that conversation, like you said, goes perfectly, I would love that scene a lot more. Like, all right, can we get more of this show of Obi-Wan just to have conversation with Ghost now? Because I want more of this. It's so emotional. Just cry. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. Chris said Qui-Gon would be pissed. I mean, probably. He'd probably be pissed.
He'd be like, you fail. You fail. We could have avoided this.
I asked you to do one thing on my deathbed. I asked you to do one thing. Train the boy. And then you trained him to become a Dark Lord of the Sith. Good job, Obi-Wan.
We could have avoided this if you would have listened to me to not bring the boy. No flights. No races. No pod races.
No, because of you, Anakin murdered younglings.
Except one youngling, except one, Can we say the name even though it's been 2 months already?
I don't want to. I don't want to
Okay,
just
okay.
yet.
All right, all right. I'm about to say he's so cute. So, Baby Yoda, I guess. You youngling.
Yeah, sure.
Still Baby Yoda.
The last thing that I wanted to talk
That's
about before we throw it to the chat for any like final questions or anything is I saw this going on Twitter. People were talking about fan casting for Grand Admiral Thrawn. So we've seen Thrawn throughout the series. If you guys haven't read the Thrawn books,
You should.
oh my god, they're amazing. You
Highly
should
pleased.
definitely pick those up. And we know from Mando season 2 that Thrawn is who Ahsoka is after now.
Correct.
She's looking for Thrawn. So, who would you guys like to see play Grand Admiral Thrawn? I would love to see Michael Fassbender play Thrawn. I think that would be amazing. Like that would be a dream come true if I could see him play Thrawn.
For me, this casting, a lot of people might agree or disagree with me, but since he is already in the same universe, in the same not same user, same company, same in the House of the Mouse.
Technically, yeah.
Damn it, I lost his name, but the guy that plays Doctor Strange, I can't remember his name.
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yes, him. I feel like he would be a good Thrawn because one, he's already in the House of the Mouse, so he could literally go from technically how other characters that have gone to him. So Doctor Strange, he's good. He has the role of being serious and cold. That's how Thrawn is. He's a person just walks straight. He's very cold and he's very precise. If you guys have seen Rebels, you know Thrawn. And who else was with Thrawn back then? It was
the boy Ezra.
Ezra, thank you. I was about to say our boy Aaron. But Aaron, like, that's a whole different show we're doing. Ezra. But Ezra, so as much as people know, I love Ezra. I love Rebels, Clone Wars and everything. And just to see if Thrawn is back, that means Ezra is back. And if we see Ezra, that means we might see other characters that we know from Rebels as well, from the Mandalorian, because we already seen them in the show. Who's gonna rise the Mandalorian with the black saber and everything else, and aka Sabine was searching with Ahsoka to search for Ezra. So if Thrawn is back, Ezra's back, and I couldn't see those. Who's my fan casting? Like I said, is Doctor Strange. It is Benedict Cumberbatch, so that's what I think could play the role for him.
I think he'd be dope, but man, it has to be Michael Fassbender for me. I think Fassbender has the gravitas. He has everything needed to bring the Grand Admiral to the screen. I think that would be dope. I would love to see Ezra versus Ahsoka. I think that would be insane, bro. Even if it's just like a sparring match. Like, I would love to see that.
That's what I was gonna ask him, like, why would they fight? But then once it's a sparring match train, like, hey Ezra, you've been gone for so long, let me see if you still have it. Then yes, I'll be love to that. Who will play him? Because Ezra it was been gone for years, so he should be older now. Unless when they were trapped, time was froze because they were with the time whales. So maybe time never went forwards or anything. So it's curious to know. And to see Ezra in the actual live action with Ahsoka, it's exciting. And Thrawn itself, like, just to see the blue makeup. And I know Thrawn with the blue makeup and everything in Star Wars behind the hands of Jon Favreau and
Dave Filoni.
And plus, Dave Filoni is going to look good. So I should not be worried about how Thrawn's going to look, because it's going to look so well. The white suit and everything. He's going to be very malicious and very smart, because he was out in the Outer Rim, in the unknown, because he knew that Palpatine was going to kill him after he got the stuff done for him. So he was pacing everything. But now this is after Palpatine is gone. Well, you know, if you've seen the original trilogy and everything. So, not original, with the sequel and everything. So from what we know, I'm curious to know where Thrawn is going and how's he going to fit in the grander scheme with the Ahsoka one-off series that's going to be coming soon next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Chris, I have not seen any rumors about RDJ possibly being Thrawn. That would also be quite interesting, because RDJ is such a versatile actor, and this would be the furthest thing from Tony Stark. It would be kind of interesting if that happened.
Because like, Thrawn and Tony Stark both charismatic, but Thrawn is more cold instead of more charmy. So it'd be different, but I'm for it if it's Robert Downey, but that's a different thing casting.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great for him to do something completely opposite from what we've seen him do in years. Because again, he's such a versatile actor. I think it would be interesting. Yeah, Chris, it's a weird choice, but it would be very interesting to see RDJ stretch his legs in that capacity, because he's going back to the well of Sherlock Holmes. He just bombed with that ridiculous Doolittle movie. And who knows? Plus, I would love to see him in a Star Wars movie to do something, or even a show.
Yeah, because that also movie that he did between the films of the MCU, he did, I think, Jury. I think
the Judge.
Yeah, The Judge, right? I think it was something like that.
It's a good movie.
It was a good, but it also bombed because not a lot of people watch it. Yeah. So, but a lot of people like Sherlock. So if he does the role like Sherlock, maybe it could work, because him as Sherlock is great. So if he does that persona mixed with Tony Stark, charismatic but cold vibe as Thrawn, I don't mind either.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting fan casting. And I just never thought of Robert to do that, but since he technically is done with his role as Tony Stark, he technically like,
Yeah.
hey,
What
I'm
is he
done with
doing?
the like, hey, I'm done with MCU. Do you guys need me to do anything else? Hey, we have Star Wars. We're trying to build this. Would you want to come to this too?
Yeah.
And it kind of works with Jon Favreau. He built the MCU. He built the MCU of the Mando. Technically, he could bring Tony Stark, aka Robert Downey Jr. That'd be interesting.
It would be interesting, bro. It would be interesting. Mercenary bringing in the voice actor for Thrawn, I wouldn't be against it, right? But who knows if that person can actually act live action? Because not every voice actor is capable of be like acting themselves on
Correct,
screen. You know?
because you guys also have to forget that on screen, who plays Ahsoka? I can't remember her name, but who plays Ahsoka is not the same. Huh?
Rosario Dawson.
Yeah, but she don't actually does the voice
Right.
for Clone Wars. So not everyone that actually does the role of the voice side could do the same role as live action. So it depends on how they do the stunts and everything else. So it's just half a half, and it just depends if they want to also play the role live action as well.
Yeah, I mean they got really lucky with Katie Sackhoff voicing the role of Bo-Katan
Oh yeah,
because I
Bo-Katan,
mean
it just worked.
she's an amazing actress. She's done action forever. Like Starbuck is waifu. Like I love
Yeah,
Starbuck.
because
Like
if I'm correct, she's been acting for 30 years on voice
long, she's
and live
amazing.
action. So like that's her role where she knows how to do both. So that's why they was lucky with Bo-Katan where she could have done her own voiceover and her actual character. So they was lucky with that one. But some others like Thrawn and Ahsoka, some people are not that lucky. So some people just have to know how to do the same character, same voice like her, but just do it in their own right.
Yeah, I'm very excited for where Star Wars is right now. I really hope that they just take a pause from the movies right now. I'm very interested into seeing when Kevin Feige's, I think it's a trilogy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm very interested to see Kevin Feige's project in the Star Wars universe. I'm very interested to see Mando season 3. That's supposed to happen after Boba Fett. So I'm very excited to see the Boba Fett series. That's gonna be dope. The
Yeah,
Ahsoka
the book
series.
of Boba Fett is gonna be interesting.
Oh yeah, so good.
And plus, I gotta give them shout out to actually make the character of Boba Fett actually interesting, because they hype him up so much in the original and in the books a bit, but you couldn't do so much. And now they finally have him as an actual character, so I give props to that. And plus also to Ming-Na Wen, how much she has done in the MCU, Star Wars, and plus the Disney movies, that she's the only actress slash actor that has done every single thing in the mouse. So it's just amazing to see what she has done. So props to her as an actress, because what she has done and what she has done as a role as an actress is amazing. And I'm happy for her because she went from the MCU from Disney and now to Star Wars. That's amazing. Not a lot of people get that chance.
Oh yeah, not a lot of people do. And her character Fennec, I mean, she's an absolute badass, bro.
And then,
Fennec as Boba Fett, it's gonna be dope.
and then we're gonna see that again in the cartoons. That's gonna be coming out as well. It's very exciting to see how's that gonna come to. It's like come to light. Like, okay, I can't wait to see what you guys do with this.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. Like again, Star Wars is in a great place. I was really worried there for a second because the sequel trilogy is just it's just absolute dog shit, bro. Like The Force Awakens is a fine movie. I think The Last Jedi is dog shit. I think The Rise of Skywalker is dog shit. Chris showed me, he sent me the Duel of the Fates script that Colin Trevorrow wrote. That was supposed to be originally in the sequel trilogy.
Correct.
So much better than anything that we got in The Last Jedi, so much better than anything we got in The Rise of Skywalker, and that's the way that it should have gone, but it doesn't matter. All of that's gone. We have the TV series now, we have the new movies going forward. I'm ready. I'm ready for the next level of Star Wars.
Now you see why James and me are excited to see Mando and Boba Fett in these characters, because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are two people who knows these series, knows the lore, and also Dave worked under Lucas when it was Clone Wars and the other prequel series, so he knows how these stories are meant to be told. say what you say about the movies or not, they love and hate. But when you could love this series of Mando and people love it and people want to see more, and now they greenlit 14 other shows to be greenlit. There's anime, cartoon, and live action, and then one movie with Patty Jenkins that's coming out in 2024. That's freaking exciting. So that shows how much trust that they have in these two people and how much they're gonna build these lore and this universe after the more lore they expand into this, and how they all said that this is all gonna connect as a crossover. So I'm very excited to see how this is gonna come with them.
Yeah, there's so much potential. Vash, this was a lot of fun, man. Like, this first episode went by really, really quick, and I had an absolute blast doing this first episode. I have to be honest, I was very nervous.
He was, guys. He was.
Show on the channel, even though I do a live podcast on anime lately every single week, like multiple times a week we're live, but it's just different because it's a new show. This show means so much to me. Doing this show at Vash means so much to me because, again, we've been trying to do this show for months, but I'm a perfectionist. It is my fault. I'm a perfectionist, and I want it to be perfect. I wanted topics to be great. I wanted us to have a great name, and I wanted everything to be great for you guys. So thank you all for being here for the very first episode.
What you guys know, he did not want to do this show until we found the right name for this show and everything. And it's just one random day. So me and Hawke texted, hey James, I just have this good idea for the name. He's like, how does this sound? Villains, plays homage to John Schnapp and everything. Like, hey, I like it. I'm like, why couldn't I do this like months ago and just tell James a name? And it's just like, hey, I like it. I'm like, this could have been solved like months ago. But hey, we're here now. It's the new year. Perfect time to start. The dry spell of last year's over. Because look, imagine if we started last year, they'll be like, hey, another postpone of a movie, another postpone of a TV show, postpone this. Like, guess what? We don't have to talk about anything of that. We just have to talk about news that drop and weekly reviews and stuff what we've been watching. So perfect time to start, perfect time to talk about things where we can discuss with you guys on a weekly Friday and just enjoy ourselves for a good 2 hours or less.
Yeah, man, this was an absolute blast. I can already tell we're gonna have a lot of fun doing this show. We wanted to do this show today since the Batwoman season 2 premiere was last night, but we'll be going live every single Friday, either at 7 CST or 8 CST, depending on our schedules. But thank you guys so much for being here. Every single one of you that showed up for this live stream, I appreciate every single one of you. This means so much to me. Villains is going to be the future of the C4S channel, along with my reactions on my movie reviews. So thank you guys so much. I love you guys. Vash, let the people know where they can find you.
Guys, you can find me at Legendary Vash, Twitter, IG, but I'm not always there. But Twitter is the best spot to find me. On Discord with James on his server, on the Anime Lily server, and where you can find me and James on the Thursdays night. Yes, you heard that correctly. We changed nights. Yes, we're not always on the same night every couple months, but sometimes, scheduling happens. But every Thursday night is on the weekly Anime Lily podcast, and you guys will find us there. And every Sundays, you'll find me, Ray, and James for our manga review coverage of My Hero and other series we do. So definitely stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and also see you guys every Friday because it's gonna be a good time and for a lot more. If you guys want more of us, comment as well what you guys want to see, questions, hashtag C4S Villains as well on Twitter. Those things will always be answered as well. James will put our questions before we go live, so you guys can ask us questions as well.
Yeah, definitely like DM Vash and myself, or DM us at the C4S Twitter, and just let us know if you found any cool like comic book news stories that you found that you wanted to talk about. Literally anything. Star Wars, Marvel, DC. We are here to talk about it all. So yeah, stay tuned for episode 2. Episode 2 is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about WandaVision episode 3 and whatever piece of news that comes out for the rest of the week. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys on the next one.